Tim Eisenhart. I live in Lehi, Utah. My phone number, 801-830-3681. Currently, I have no agent. Now, I wanted to share a short story. I'll try to keep it short. At my age, I've got lots of stories and experiences, but the one that I've kind of thought about is when I was 17. It was my last few months in high school, and I decided to join the church. I converted. Now, I'm not going to go into why I converted or anything like that. That's a whole nother story for another day. But I did. I converted, joined the church, graduated from high school, and was preparing to go to university. I had earned and I'd worked hard to earn a 4-year scholarship, a full 4-year scholarship to university. Well, I went. I spent my first year at university. I came home, had my 19th birthday, came home, worked summer to doing construction. But during that year, I'd seen a lot of my friends going on missions, leaving on missions, preparing their paperwork, doing all they needed to do. And I would often get asked, "Are you going to go on a mission?" And I'd laugh and go, "No, I am not going on a mission. I'm not that guy." Well, after I had my 19th birthday, the bishop called me in, and I knew why, and we sat and talked for a minute, and he asked me about a mission. I said, "Bishop, I'm not going on a mission. I have a full scholarship that I've worked for, and I've got my plan. I want to graduate. I want to have my doctorate, my PhD by the time I'm 25. No, I'm not going on a mission." He said, "Okay." And we left it at that. Well, a couple of weeks later, I called him and said, "Changed my mind, Bishop." Now, I'm not going to go into why I changed my mind either. That's, again, another story, another day. But I did. I changed my mind. When I met with him, and he said, "Well, now you need to meet with the stake president." And he called the stake president and left him a message that I needed to meet with him. And really only a few hours went by before a phone rang at my house, and it was the stake president asking if I could meet with him the next day. But he wanted me to at his office downtown where he worked. And I said, "Well, okay, but the problem is I'm working construction and I can get there on time, but I won't have any time to really get cleaned up or change, and my clothes are pretty dirty from pouring cement and doing different things all day." And he said, "That's fine, that's fine." So the next day, I went to work and then drove to my president's office. Now, I have to explain here, my stake president was Francis Gibbons. He was the personal secretary to the prophet, and I was meeting him at the church executive office building. Now, not only were my clothes dirty, but I was also at this time doing a musical up in Park City. And so I'd grown my hair out, so it was long, and I had a full beard. So I didn't look like I should be going into the church office building. I went in and I saw the look in the eye of the man behind the front desk. He kind of looked at me and wondered, and I walked up and said, "I'm here to see President Gibbons. I have an appointment." And he looked down at his book and he went, "Oh, Brother Eisenhart, welcome. President Gibbons is waiting for you." And so I went up the stairs and went to President Gibbons' office. I walked in and he was there, and he invited me to sit down. We started to talk for a few minutes when I noticed out of the corner of my eye, I noticed a door open on the side of his office. President Gibbons got up, and a man walked in, and he got up and walked over and said, "Why, President Lee, let me introduce you to Brother Eisenhart. He's here because he's decided he wants to go on a mission." Now, President, what do you think about that? I looked, and President Lee looked at me, and he walked over, and I was looking him in the eye, and he took my hand. We shook hands, and he said, "What do I think about that? Well, Brother Eisenhart, I think you'll be a marvelous missionary. Thank you. Thank you very much for serving." And I stood there, looking in his eye as he held my hand in his grip. I felt that love and compassion that I will always remember. Always. The day I held the prophet's hand